Hello, hello. It's another fabulous episode of the Green Connections Green Spotlight. This is where we love to feature our upcoming guest speakers at our main monthly meeting. And so, hello to all of you who are watching. Happy Tuesday. And let us know how you're doing today. So, drop in the comments, let us know where you're watching us from. And if you're a member of Green Connection, say hello. I am so thrilled to be able to introduce you today, our August Greenlight, and her name is Ingrid Cryns. So Ingrid is the founder of Building Soul and Wild Earth Wisdom Farm. She's a retired architect and now practices psychotherapy, but she has a beautiful, interesting career, life experience that's helped her to combine all of these beautiful interests together. And she now has over 25 years of expertise as a registered psychotherapist. She's a bioenergetic analyst, energy sound healer, and through this integration of inner and outer sacred ecology, which we'll talk about a little bit today in the interview, wild earth wisdom is her current emerging work. And I'm so happy to get to visit. We're going to take a little virtual tour today of the beautiful property of this farm. And that's where we're going to have our Green Connections meeting this month. So this month, it is a hybrid meeting. So those of you who are local to the area in Zephyr, Uxbridge, Canada, you can come to this on-location meeting. And for those of you who are virtual like me, we'll be able to Zoom in. So without further ado, I would love to introduce you to now Ingrid Cryns. Here we go. Hey, Ingrid, welcome.
Hi, Olivia. So nice to be here with you. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. I'm so thrilled to get to meet you. This is our first meeting together. And, just having this moment, I know how busy you are with your upcoming travels, to take a moment just to sit down and have this chat. And I heard that today is a very special day because it's your birthday. So happy Eco birthday, Ingrid.
Thank you. Thank you. I won't tell you my age, but I do look younger than my age.
You are looking fabulous. Love it. Love it. You just look so radiant. Excellent. So Ingrid, I am just, oh my gosh, I've taken a look at the beautiful pictures that's on your website and with the Wild Earth Farm, and it's just gorgeous. Like, talk a little bit about how you acquired this property. Like, how did it all come together?
Well, actually, that's an interesting story. I had been living in the country for several years after my children left for university, and I was looking for something that was a little bigger than what I had because I started getting into gardening and homesteading and becoming more self-reliant. And I had a little half-acre property, but it didn't have enough sunlight. It had too many big trees everywhere. And so I started looking. I sold my house rather quickly. And for a month, I couldn't find anything. And I was like starting to have that anxiety feeling. And during this time, I was giving a whole series of trainings, workshops on homesteading. And we were at the final end of the series. And we were doing an in-person whole retreat weekend. And we had a ceremony at the end of the weekend. And we said, okay, so what's your dream, your ideal homesteading property? And so we all did that. I led it with a friend, Subo McKee. We're doing this together. And so we also put in our own dreams. And on the way back from that workshop, I was driving by and just looking on my phone and my app at the different possibilities as I was driving back home. And there was this property that popped up. I'm like, I never noticed this one before. And then within like a week, we were like putting an offer in. It was just like I put one foot down on the ground when I stepped out of the car, and I just looked at it's 16 acres, and I just was driving up the driveway. I didn't even go in the house. My foot was on the ground, and I started crying. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't care about the house. I'm an architect. I can change anything I want inside the house. This is the property. It had all these parts and principles that I know about permaculture and all these things that I could see instantly in the property because of how much work I'd done beforehand. And it has truly been an amazing experience. I've been here for 8 years now. And the first year I was just walking around in a daze going, I can't believe this is my property. And now after 8 years, it's more like every day I feel like I'm in a place of wonder and awe at how beautiful and how peaceful it is here. And it's only an hour away from the city. And it has about half of it is about a forest that the previous owner had planted in there. So it's about 60-year-old forest. And and he put in 2 ponds, one a deeper swimming pond and the other one a shallow pond, which I installed a whole irrigation system from that pond to the rest of the property to irrigate the some of the fields if I need them, but more for my veggie gardens. And I installed a cold cellar and a little baby orchard of dwarf trees of about 35 different varieties and types of nuts and fruits and bushes. And I installed a very strong and sturdy greenhouse that I could use. And I'm starting to add some glamping spots actually now. There's a found school bus on there that is almost fully renovated, and I did a little bunkie and a little trailer, and I have a couple of bell tents. So next year I will have that ready.
Oh, you had me at glamping. Glamping. Oh, say no more. I will make sure I get to Canada.
But the big thing that happened this year is that I've installed a very large Mongolian yurt, and it is an incredibly beautiful sacred space. And I'm going to start doing workshops this fall there, and groups and teachings, as well as online courses as well.
Oh, fantastic. Oh my gosh. And one of the things that call Wild Earth, it's a small hobby eco farm. Can you say a little bit more about that? Why you chose to kind of designate it's a small hobby eco farm?
Because it's just something I do on the side. It's not something I do to make money out of it. I grow meat chickens as well as lay chickens, and I have had several different types of lay chickens, so I can have rainbow colored eggs from dark chocolate brown, the outside, not the inside, chocolate brown to light brown to green to blue to white to cream. But unfortunately, we get predators here, and we've lost a fair amount of chickens this year, which has been devastating. But it's part of the life and death process that you learn to live with on the farm. And so meat chickens. I have a dog and a cat. And the small hobby part is because, well, I used to have honeybees, and I did sell some of my honey. But over the last few years, they kept dying over the winter because of the pesticides around here. Because they have the bees have a 5-mile range of flight. And so you can't control that unless you have at least 100-acre. I don't even think that's enough. Farm. So there's a devastating, consistent loss of bees, and I'm very connected to that. And I just couldn't, as a small, just from 2 to 6 beehives, I couldn't sustain it, and I had to buy a new nuke every year, and it was just not sustainable. And it was so I just stopped last year, and I can't sustain it, which is hard because I just loved being with the bees. It was a big part of my identity, in a way, of being on a hobby farm, was the bees. And then I also planted a lot of lavender, and I just love the smell of lavender and harvesting it. But at a certain point, I ran out of time to be able to manage all these things I loved, and also do my practice as a psychotherapist, where I work for myself on the farm. And I used to work outside of the farm before the pandemic, but the pandemic shifted everything. So now I'm full-time on the farm, and I do my practice is part virtual and part in person now.
So beautiful. I love what you're saying, because I think it ties into these principles, right? That you're wanting to educate others on, about that sacred ecology, the transitions and permanence of life, the natural cycles of life and death.
Yeah, so the eco part of the hobby farm is really working with as organic and natural and non-GMO as possible, and trying and using no pesticides, none of that is here. And also just finding ways to like live on my footprint and grow my own food as much as possible. I don't have fully the solar part in there yet, and that's the one of the last things that I'm going to be doing. Yeah, and just being very mindful of reciprocity with the earth. And so, what you take, you give. And I do ceremonies when I with the meat chickens. I would smudge them and bless them before they would be processed. and and also with any kind of food harvesting or edible forest harvesting, it's just having a little communion or connection with nature, and not over harvesting sort of thing, and leaving a little bit here and there when it's something that I haven't planted myself. Yeah.
That's a write it downer. Live on your own footprint. That's very profound, Ingrid. Wow, 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 wow. And I was reading through some of your Facebook posts, and you had shared one of this like eco snippet about how, when it comes really down to it, the only knowledge that we need or that really matters is how to purify water, how to grow our own food, how to cook, how to build, how to love. And
Yeah.
these are things that are not, touched upon in school. So I
Yeah.
love that you're
I
providing resources on the farm.
I tend to be very detail oriented, and I get very complicated and wanting to understand the depth of everything. But what I keep learning as I evolve and grow more, that the simpler I can make things, the better. Just to try to simplify everything on so many different levels is really often the way through. And we are in a world now where we have this digital stuff that we are really reliant on, and it gets so complicated because it has to be updated, and you've got to learn a new system, a new routine, a new program, and it's like everything all of a sudden is getting updated at the same time, and you're just like, what? I don't know how to do this anymore. And then you can't phone or email anybody anymore. You have to wait, and it's just so complicated. And I'm craving to come back more locally and create more community that's local to me, and just make it simple. I just go to this local, house or farm or store, and I pay cash and I get it back cash, and just call me on the phone. I don't want to look at messages anymore. I'm starting to get kind of digital, like I need to detox more and more and more. And it's hard because I'm addicted to it in many ways. And when you want to do a business that's more global, which is what Green Connections is doing, and I'm also doing that, I'm doing local and global at the same time, you have to be plugged in. But it's not reliable. When I do my practice has some virtual, and it shuts down, it's blurry, it lags, and then you can't understand it. It's distorted. It kind of drives you crazy.
As a live stream producer, been there, done that. Yep, I
Uh,
totally get those moments of frustrations when you're like in the middle of a stream and then something's just frozen.
yeah. Yeah,
So,
and we're used to it, but it's still not the natural way of being in person. It's given us so much connection globally, like it's phenomenal. I have friends all over the world. It's like close friends, and I haven't even met them in person. Yeah.
I think that's what I appreciate that, because I'm in Florida and you're in Canada, and so many members of Green Connections are based right in Canada because that's how it got started. But, we become more global, inviting other people who want to be part of this environmental sustainability movement. At the same time, I really do crave like in person connections as well. And that's why I think this is so brilliant that once in a while we can create a hybrid
Yes,
meeting.
hybrid. I'm totally into hybrid.
That's amazing. And so I will just be zooming in. But one of these days, I know there's an option. So if there's another hybrid meeting on location, perhaps that's something I can work into my schedule, right? Etc. So I do want to share some pictures of your beautiful farm for everybody to see.
Mhm.
So let's go ahead and do a slide share real quick. And you can, tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about, the Mongolian Yurt. Oh my God, it's magnificent. And so I can see your architectural background coming through, and I would love to hear about, how you designed that. So here we go with the slide share. One moment. Let's see. Got to get up and running.
Well, actually, the Mongolian yurt is not something I've designed. It's entirely imported from Mongolia, and
Oh,
they created the whole thing. And and it makes me feel humble because I've designed a lot of different buildings. I'm really, a senior architect level, and I just love this yurt. This yurt is, I could never have designed like this. I mean, maybe now because I am into sacred geometry and I understand the principles around some of the symbolism that it has painted on there, and the whole round geometry shape is really amazing energetically for healing and for ceremony. It really makes a difference in the quality of the space. It's
wow.
so interesting.
So like
Yeah,
it was like a
it
pre
has a bubble.
was it
It's a
prefabricated with the
it's
stones?
like, well, it's kind of like a kit, you could say, but it's just like a package of a tent. It's a tent. It's a tent package. It's got poles. It's got layers of cloth that you have to put on it. And mine is 25 and a half feet wide diameter. So it's huge. And so it took 7 people 9 hours to put it together. And 2 of them were super experienced at it.
Oh my,
So yeah, it's really cool. It's really, really cool.
and it's
Beautiful.
so serene too, like very serene to look at. So I think I've got it here just once. So this is where we're gonna breathe through the technical difficulty, right?
Yes, exactly. Just relax. We all have that happen,
Yep.
and we
So
just need a moment.
we just need a moment exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Um, Here we go. Okay, we're gonna share screen, and I'd love you to kind of take us on a virtual tour because this is where the Green Connections meeting is going to be held. Oh, I'm so excited for everyone. All right, so here it
Yeah.
is. Excellent.
So that's the main farmhouse, and to the left is the coach house, and the top floor on the left is my therapy room. It's a really beautiful space that has slopey ceilings and incredible views out onto the property. And the house itself has a front screened-in porch there where we try to spend most of our time in the good weather in the summer season and not be attacked by bugs. Although right now it's not too buggy, but it's gotten more buggy over the years since climate change has happened, actually. The first few years, there were no bugs at all. It's interesting how the effect of increasing humidity, the higher temperature increases humidity, which increases the bugs.
I
So,
love it
yeah.
here.
And
Is this the one with the lavender
yeah,
fields?
yeah, this is the lavender field, and it is slowly getting older and needs to get replaced. Beyond that, you see this little roof gazebo area, and that's where the pond is. The swimming pond is right there, and it's about a half acre size and about 12 feet deep, and it's spring fed. It's really beautiful.
It must be
And
so fragrant to walk through this field, right? Like the smell of lavender just in the air.
yeah, it has been really, really beautiful. It's just starting to flower now, actually, in the beginning of August again. Yeah. End of July, beginning of August.
That's like Instagram shot right there.
I always try to get up super early in the morning when there's like this mist sometimes, right? With the difference between heat and warmth and cold. And I always get the shots with the sun coming through. That's the east. And then there's this mist in the background.
So beautiful. Oh my gosh, this one was my favorite picture.
Yeah. So that's looking at it from the pond back towards the front. So in that very far distance in the middle would be where the other picture was taken, and actually at the very end is where the yurt is, right in front of the house now. That picture that you saw doesn't have the outside of the yurt in it, but you would see that yurt on the left of the very first picture. But yeah, this is the swimming pond, and I call it my sacred pond. And more as I do this energy healing work, I find that water is actually an important healing medium, and the water, the body of water really has a resonance, and you just can swim in it or just sit beside it, and it really helps to balance your system, because we're like, what are we, 80, 90% water, and our emotions are very watery. A lot of people equate water with emotions, and this pond really has a really precious, quiet, sacred, rejuvenating presence.
And it
Yeah.
shows. When I saw this picture, I was immediately drawn to it. Like I could, like when you were telling the story about how you saw the property, you like cried. Like this one was just so. It's so beautiful. It's captivating that it really does look serene. It has sort of that mystical element to it too. Like I
Mm-hmm.
could look at this picture and meditate. So
That's an interesting. That's a good suggestion I could do when I'm doing some more. I'm going to eventually do some meditations, and I could do that with that in the background.
with some soothing music in the background. Yeah.
Yeah, guided
Um,
meditation. Yeah.
yes, indeed. Because it really has like that kind of because you've got the light coming in, but then you've also got the reflection in the pond. Then you've got like the mist. Oh, it's so beautiful.
Thank you, Olivia.
You're welcome, Ingrid. All right, so then this next picture I really love too. Hang on one second. Yes, the greenhouse. Is this the greenhouse one?
Yeah, this is the greenhouse, and we had built some cold frames. You see at the back there, where we were experimenting over the winter, and we were able to keep food alive by putting insulation, thick insulation, styrofoam insulation on top that was about 3 inches thick. And we can keep it alive, but it grows really, really slow. But then when it starts to warm up in March, it just goes like a rocket and bursts out of there. So every day we would take the insulation off, and then we would put it back on at night over the winter. And generally, we grow mostly our tomatoes and cucumbers and peppers in here, just to have more control and to have less blight. And they just really like a more concentrated, hot environment. But we also start a lot of our seedlings in here too. After they're in our house, we bring them out here and harden them here, and then we put them in the garden.
Beautiful.
When I chose this greenhouse, I chose the frame as the thickest, strongest frame I could find here locally. It's because I knew that we're in a bit of a tornado alley, and I knew that it would need eventually. This is like 2015 that I installed this, and I knew that would be a wind would be the most threat that I would have in this property. We don't really get earthquakes. And sure enough, this past, was it in May, we had a tornado type event come down just about 15 minutes south of me. And it did come into my property a little bit. And I'm so lucky that this greenhouse didn't get damaged, and the yurt was there at that time, which was not fully anchored into the ground. And we had 120 km/h winds, I think, which is crazy. And that yurt didn't fly away. I don't know how it didn't fly away, but they say when it's rounded, it has some quality that the wind just goes around it. Doesn't have anything to lift it up. So it's kind of cool.
That is amazing. Well, we are coming onto the yurt next. So here it is. That's one view.
Ah, there's the yurt view. Yeah.
I
So
love
when we chose that spot on the property, we wanted it further to the left in the picture, but we have these giant poplar trees, and they're starting to go, and we're just like, if a branch falls off, it's just not worth it. It's the anxiety. So we kept moving it over, and we thought the ground was flat when we did that. We were standing on the ground like, that's pretty good. It's pretty flat here, and it's like a good 2 feet difference from one end to the other end. We're just like, what? When we had to build a temporary wooden structure underneath of it to support it as a proper floor. But it
Okay.
all can be taken away. It's all portable and can be taken away, and the ground can be like reconstituted with grass, and we can carry it off if we need to go somewhere one day with a tent we could actually live in, maybe one retire in. I don't know what.
That's amazing. Um, how many people does it fit?
It can fit 18 people in a circle lying down on yoga mats, and it can fit probably like you could squeeze in probably 60 to 70, 75 maybe people in chairs, tight. So like 20, 30 people is like a nice happy in chairs is a nice happy fullness for it. Yeah.
I love the inside view. Oh my goodness. This was breathtaking.
So the whole ceiling can open up to the sky, and there's on the front left, there's a little bit of black spots, and that's where we're going to put in a wood stove so we can use it all year round in the winter. And so we can have blue skies, and it just has such an incredible presence and quality, this space. It's like a little cathedral inside, and it makes you want to speak very quietly in some ways. But when I did a whole yurt opening ceremony in June, and it happened to be an afternoon when there was this torrential downpour, like monsoon rain, and it was pounding on the ceiling as I was doing a whole shamanic visioning workshop, and I had to yell over the sound of this drumming sound to be able to have people to hear me. But afterwards, when we're finished, one person made a comment saying that it sounded like the spirit beings were with one of those indigenous, huge, large drums where you have 4 people. Like, sounded like there were 20 people drumming and saying, "Yay! This is opening here. What a wonderful blessing this is." And so, it was just such a beautiful experience.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Green Connection members, you are so lucky that you get to have your meeting in this yurt. Oh my gosh, it's magnificent. I'm
Yeah, I'm
so
going to do a little experience with everybody there, just so this a little spiritual kind of meditation experience. I do sound healing with that, and yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be really fun.
amazing. So in the time that we have left, I'd love for you to touch upon a little bit about the body, mind, soul healing psychotherapy work that you do.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, I got into this work about 25 years ago because I was going through a whole personal inner structure crisis reorganization, and I have an incredibly curious mind, and I found out about a workshop on bioenergetics, which is a body-based psychotherapy, and I'm like, oh, I'll just go to that workshop. And then I went there, and I'm like, oh my God, this is incredible, this stuff, what I'm learning. I'll just try it for a year and see if I like it. I'll go to some of these workshops. And after a year, I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm committed. I want to keep going. I don't care. It was just on weekends, like 4-day weekends over 5 years. And I loved it. It just changed my whole life and really reorganized me. It gave me a lot more clarity and understanding and healing. And so, what I do is I have an expertise in relational trauma, which has to do with attachment theories and how we communicate and how we can really get more connected to our emotions and the physiological expression of our emotions in our bodies. And also how we can really have a better way of understanding, communicating with others, and also in groups and community. And this work is it's been around. Bioenergetics has been around for, like, I don't know, 60, 70 years or more, but only over the last 10 or 15 years is neuroscience kind of now catching up in the regular world, saying this is the way to heal trauma, whether it's shock trauma, which is like an accident or hospitalization injury, or relational trauma, which is in relationship with people, and how things can get very confusing or toxic or very distressing in many different kinds of ways. And I also, so I do the basic talk therapy of analytically understanding and psychodynamic theories with the body connection of how the emotions move through as energy through our body, and how we can sort of map and understand our triggers, and that's usually content from our past that comes up through as an emotion, and how we can own them and have better ways of communicating our distress or our needs with each other. But I also include a spiritual awareness of our soul, and how the energies are and the emotions really are about the spiritual uh, glue and energy between us, and how and I work in a bit of a shamanic way, but my own kind of version of it, with vision and ceremony, and also do sound healing and sound therapy to help people. Uh, it's like a transmission where you are induced in a trance state, but we work with intent and content to shift that. So yeah, it's kind of like multi-dimensional process that's really fun. And but also quite serious and quite complicated sometimes. And every story is unique and different. And I learned this through my own journey of my own personal body, mind, soul, spirit connection. And it seems to be very helpful to lots of other people as well. And I enjoy that. It gives a lot of meaning to my life and purpose to be in service in that regard.
You have such an interesting combination. I've so enjoyed our conversation today. Just the architecture, the ecology, and and now with the psychotherapy. And
Well,
it's
as a
amazing to see that
yeah,
you look at integration.
sorry, I interrupted you. As an architect, I did specialize in straw bale building and in natural, non-toxic EMF, electromagnetic awareness, and sacred geometry and how that works with buildings and color and frequency. I was so fascinated by that. But at a certain point, I realized I learned as much as I needed, which I can work with to teach. It wasn't about me building, it was about me learning how to teach this more on a general level to people to integrate it and how to get that in their lives with their emotional consciousness awareness and how to connect more with people and be able to communicate in ways that were supportive and inclusive, basically.
So you're like a soul architect.
Kind of. That's a good way of putting it. Being an architect is like a project manager. I can take any idea, like a sketch, and I can make it into a building. I know all the steps. And I can do that with anything. It's not just buildings. I can do that with people. I can do that with homesteading. It's a training.
It is a training. Awesome. Well, thank you, Ingrid, so much. And for those of you who are watching, please follow Ingrid, get to learn more about her work and look into her services. Her link is below here. So buildingsoul.ca if you want to, explore more of these sessions with her. And then, of course, visit the farm. So the farm is available. She's looking for interns. I think with everything you described, you need a lot of help, right?
Yeah,
Just
I
maintaining.
do. Can't do it myself. That's the biggest lesson.
Yes. So these are paid internships. So if you're in the area and you're looking to be part of this wonderful community, check out the website. So ingridcryns.ca/wild-earth-farm and check out some of the paid internship opportunities. I would totally be a paid intern if I lived closer to you. Maybe one
Next year, not this year. This
well,
year,
maybe
yeah,
this
not
year.
yeah. Over the summer, not so much the winters.
I could maybe think of like a summer retreat. Like I would be like my summer camp.
Yeah, yeah. It's the idea of having more of the glamping spots too, so that I can have different places where people could stay.
That is fantastic. Awesome. Be sure to connect with Ingrid on LinkedIn and also just to follow Ingrid on Facebook. And of course, she'll be there at the Green Connections meeting next week. So you guys all get to meet and be part of that experience. Take the tour. We gave you a little bit of a glimpse today for those of you who couldn't be in person. And again, a reminder that the Green Connections meeting is hybrid. So we are meeting on the third Tuesday, August 16th at 11 a.m. So just go to the Facebook event page here on the screen and be sure to RSVP. So thank you, Ingrid, so much for your time. It's lovely getting to know you.
Yes, likewise. Thank you so much, Olivia.
You are so welcome. All right. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye for now. Thank you so much for watching this speaker Greenlight with the Green Connections Network. We hope you enjoyed this segment and a little sneak peek of our featured speaker. And please mark your calendars. We meet on the third Tuesday of each month. So go green and grow with us. Stay connected by joining our Facebook group at www.facebook.com/greenconnections. And to become a member, please visit greenconnections.org. Thank you.